I want to bring in North Dakota Senator John Hoeven joining us this morning. Senator, good to have you on the program. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. How are you?
You are obviously not on the Senate Intelligence Committee, but what are you expecting from your colleagues in the Senate this morning on this testimony?
Well, I think they're going to go through, of course, all of Comey's opening statement and try to get more of the facts out. Also, I think they're going to try to get into what really happened in terms of Russia interfering in our election. So I think they'll do both.
Well, what about Jim Comey's behavior or performance during the 2016 election? Do you think your colleagues are going to ask him or press him on whether or not his boss at the time, Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, asked him to lay off of an investigation of Hillary Clinton?
I think they will refer back to last year as well. I think all of those things will be part of this hearing today. I think it'll be a far-reaching, pretty broad-based discussion, yes.
Senator, let me ask you this. With all of this conversation about Russia and about Jim Comey over the last several months, has this been a distraction for you and your colleagues in terms of executing the agenda? I'm talking about health care, tax reform, and, of course, the President has discussed infrastructure this week.
You know, there's no question it's taken time and attention, obviously. At the same time, though, we're working very hard to stay focused on our agenda, which, as you say, is vital for our country, whether it's tax reform, reducing the regulatory burden, health care reform, infrastructure, all these things. So, yes, it is a distraction, but at the same time, we work very hard to stay focused on the business at hand.
So what can you tell us about that focus right now in terms of the bill within the Senate right now on health care?
We're working to get something where we can get at least 50 votes in the Senate. Obviously then with the Vice President we can pass it. We're trying to do it under budget reconciliation. That's challenging. We're writing our own bill. And again, we keep our eye focused on the goal, and that's to make sure that people have access to health care and more affordable health care insurance. That's the goal. That's what we're working toward.
When would you expect the bill to actually turn into legislation? I mean, when are you expecting to get this done?
You know, we want to be real careful about setting a deadline because the goal is to build that consensus and pass it. I hope we get it done before the August recess, but again, we don't want to set a hard and fast deadline.
I mean, Mitch McConnell said he wants it by the July 4th weekend, right?
Well, I think he would like that. Again, we want to be careful about setting a hard and fast deadline.
Let me ask you about tax reform, Senator. Where are you on that?
Well, I think we're optimistic and we're quite anxious to get to it. I think for a lot of us that, is something that we really want to get focused on and we want to move to as soon as possible, and I believe we'll get it done this year.
What are the big issues there? Walk us through what some of the issues are that the debate is taking place around.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is it neutral in terms of the debt and deficit, and do you use dynamic scoring? If you go to dynamic scoring, meaning that if you lower the tax rates, make the tax code fairer and simpler, you get economic growth that generates revenue rather than from higher tax rates. If we're allowed to use dynamic scoring, our task becomes much easier, and I believe it really works. And then maybe combine it with an infrastructure package and try to get our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to actually join with us on something. I think that's the kind of approach I've really been pushing, and I hope we can get to.
So you want to see revenue then in the tax bill. You want to see some revenue raise, whether it be border adjustment tax or a corporate rate that is not 15%. Is that what you're saying? You are in the camp that wants revenue?
No, I'll be careful here. I want lower taxes. I'm saying you will get revenue from economic growth with lower taxes. That's called dynamic scoring rather than static scoring, which the CBO uses. I think that's a very Republican concept, and that's how we get our economy going and growing and create more jobs with lower taxes.
All right, so you believe we will see growth. Once we start generating growth, that will help pay for it.
Bingo. And remember, we're doing this through budget reconciliation, so that's why this is an issue. That scoring is an issue in order to meet the rules of the Senate.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you make. Let me ask you this, Senator. Can you put to rest some of this speculation that you guys are not going to get anything done in 2017? I mean, are we just talking about a difference in the corporate rate or a couple of deductions that may go or may stay, or like you said, revenue neutral, or are we talking about the possibility that no tax reform happens? Are we just talking about a change in corporate rates here? Put to rest any speculation out there that you guys get nothing done this year.
We've already made real progress on reducing the regulatory burden. That's real. It affects every small business across this country. It's helping our economy. We're going to combine that with what I believe is real tax reform and, I hope, an infrastructure package. That's all important stuff to grow our economy, create jobs.
Well, don't you have like under 40 days left when it's actually working days? You're going to get all this done in 40 days?
I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm working hard on it every day.
Do we need more than your fingers crossed, Senator? Can you put to rest the speculation?
Well, we need the hard work, and we have to stay at it. And it would be nice if we could break through and get our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to work with us, and we're trying.
Will you be able to do that? They want to obstruct. They don't want the agenda executed. So you can't really rely on that, right?
I believe we will, and I'm committed to doing it.
Senator, good to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
Senator John Hoeven joining us. Keep